From the outside, Hollywood sparkles with lights, glamour, and applause, giving the impression of a world fueled by success and admiration. On the surface, it seems as though every actor, director, and crew member moves through a glittering playground where talent is celebrated, and fame follows merit. But beneath that polished exterior, the industry often hides a far more complicated reality. Grudges linger, disappointments fester, and the bonds between people can fracture in ways that last a lifetime. Jack Nicholson, one of the most celebrated actors in cinematic history, recently decided to lift the curtain on some of the experiences that left the deepest marks on his life and career. At the age of 88, he spoke with candor, naming 6 individuals, some legends, some former friends, who had challenged, frustrated, or outright disappointed him. These were not minor misunderstandings or fleeting disagreements. To Nicholson, these were deep fractures, emotional fault lines that shaped his perspective on the industry and the people in it. Number 1. Marlon Brando. The first name he mentioned was Marlon Brando, a man who had once been the embodiment of artistic greatness in Nicholson's eyes. Brando was the actor he had studied, admired, and looked up to, and yet, according to Jack, he became the person who disappointed him most profoundly. Their collaboration on Missouri Breaks in 1976 was meant to be an extraordinary experience. Nicholson arrived on set full of anticipation, eager to engage with someone he had revered for years, imagining a partnership that might push him to new artistic heights. Instead, he encountered an unpredictable storm. Brando, once the pinnacle of acting in Jack's mind, appeared disengaged and unfocused, treating the production as though it were a casual hobby rather than a serious project. He had neglected to learn his lines, relying on cue cards that were taped to lamps, furniture, and even the foreheads of extras, just to stumble through his scenes. Nicholson later reflected on the experience, insisting that raw talent could never justify carelessness, and referring to Brando as a lazy genius, a label that captured the frustration he felt towards someone he had once idolized. The tension on set escalated as Brando continued to act unpredictably. He would switch accents mid-scene, often slipping into a random Irish tone without warning, and demand unusual costume adjustments that left the crew baffled. To Nicholson, these actions were less an exercise in creative exploration than a form of sabotage. While he tried to maintain the integrity of his own performance and the production as a whole, Brando's behavior transformed the set into a chaotic environment. Nicholson found himself constantly reacting to the unexpected, rescuing his scenes from the disorder that had erupted around him. When the movie ultimately underperformed at the box office, the fallout extended beyond professional disappointment. The personal bond between the two men was severed as well. Nicholson continued to respect Brando's monumental body of work, yet he quietly vowed never to share a set with him again. The experience taught him a sobering lesson. Those we admire the most are sometimes capable of letting us down the hardest. Number 2. Shelley Duvall. Shelley Duvall, the actress who played his wife during the production of The Shining in 1980. The filming process for that movie was notorious for its intensity, but contrary to popular belief, Nicholson's tension was not primarily directed at director Stanley Kubrick. Instead, his frustrations were aimed at Duvall, whose performance he found challenging to work alongside at times. Nicholson often described acting as a high-wire act, a delicate balance that requires mutual support from one-scene partners. In this case, he felt as though he was carrying the full weight of the performance alone. He needed a co-star who could match his energy and maintain stability in scenes, but Duvall's unpredictability made every day on set a struggle. Kubrick's obsession with endless takes already tested the patience and endurance of the entire cast, and Duvall's emotional swings compounded the pressure. Despite occasional moments of brilliance, Nicholson found that Duvall's fragile state frequently made scenes feel like uphill battles. He relied on precise rhythm and timing, while her exhaustion and emotional volatility drew him into constant improvisation that left him drained. Over time, Nicholson came to understand the larger context. Kubrick's extreme methods had pushed Duvall past her limits, and the blame was never entirely hers. Nevertheless, the experience left a lasting imprint on him. Although The Shining became a cinematic classic, the professional and emotional bond between Nicholson and Duvall never fully recovered. The production remained a heavy memory, a testament to how creative pressure can affect the collaboration between actors. Number 3. Tom Cruise, whom Nicholson once referred to as empty. Their collaboration on A Few Good Men in 1992 produced one of the most iconic moments in modern cinema, particularly the courtroom confrontation where Nicholson's character delivers the line, "You can't handle the truth." Audiences perceived the scene as a thrilling clash, but behind the scenes, Nicholson described feeling drained rather than invigorated. Acting, for him, thrived on risk. He loved moments of unpredictability, scenes where a single misstep could alter the entire dynamic and inject a raw, electric energy into the performance. Cruise, by contrast, approached acting with meticulous control, delivering every smile, gesture, and line with mechanical precision. Nicholson described looking into Cruise's eyes as witnessing the workings of a flawless machine, perfect in execution, but devoid of the unpredictable spark that Nicholson craved. Even during their most famous confrontation, Nicholson attempted to ignite something raw and spontaneous, but Cruise's controlled style left the performance feeling rehearsed to the point of sterility. After the film wrapped, Nicholson admitted that while he respected Cruise's discipline, he had no desire to work with him again. Their artistic philosophies were fundamentally at odds. Nicholson thrived on chaos and danger, while Cruise prioritized precision and control. The clash highlighted a larger theme in Nicholson's career, the struggle to reconcile his instinctual, instinct-driven approach to acting with others who favored calculated performance. Number 4. Faye Dunaway. What had promised to be a reunion filled with the potential for artistic synergy, following their work together on Chinatown, devolved into constant conflict on the set of The Two Jakes. From the first day of shooting, the atmosphere was tense. Nicholson, balancing the responsibilities of directing, writing, and starring, faced near-constant resistance from Dunaway. The chemistry that had once existed between them had disappeared, replaced by confrontations over every line, every decision, and every moment of direction. She arrived late, challenged his authority, and pushed back against his creative choices. Nicholson, already burdened with the immense responsibility of carrying the project, reached his breaking point. He described the dynamic as sabotage, a complete breakdown of trust and respect. What was intended to be a triumphant directorial achievement instead became a haunting ordeal, so discouraging that Nicholson never returned to directing another feature film. Number 5. Sean Penn, the director who, according to Nicholson, stifled his creative freedom. On the set of The Pledge in 2001, Nicholson felt micromanaged to an extent he could not tolerate. Instead of being treated as a creative partner, he felt constrained at every turn, pushed into a rigid box with little room for improvisation or instinct. Penn demanded full control of the production, which Nicholson described as attempting to run a marathon with his feet tied together, a metaphor that vividly illustrated the frustration and restriction he felt. Despite the film receiving critical acclaim, Nicholson left feeling creatively suffocated, disconnected from the very passion that had driven him for decades. Following the production, Nicholson and Penn never collaborated again, as the director's control could never balance with Nicholson's need for freedom on set. The sixth and final person was Leonardo DiCaprio, a rising star with whom Nicholson collaborated on The Departed in 2006. On screen, their performances appeared electric, with Nicholson's Frank Costello radiating chaotic menace, while DiCaprio's Billy Costigan exuded controlled tension. Fans celebrated the dynamic as flawless, but Nicholson's perspective was different. DiCaprio's preparation was meticulous. Every gesture, facial movement, and moment of backstory had been carefully considered. While Nicholson admired the effort, he felt the performance lacked the unpredictable energy he thrived on. Nicholson relished the thrill of scenes where anything could happen without warning, a rawness that could spark unfiltered magic. During one scene, he spontaneously used a prop that had not been rehearsed, catching DiCaprio genuinely off guard. This was precisely the type of unpredictability Nicholson valued, yet DiCaprio's cautious approach clashed with his instinct-driven style. Nicholson respected DiCaprio's talent, but he never felt a true connection. After filming, he remarked that while DiCaprio was excellent, he was too safe for my blood. Even though The Departed won Best Picture, the experience left Nicholson with a bittersweet sense of triumph. Across these 6 encounters, Brando, Duvall, Cruise, Dunaway, Penn, and DiCaprio, a pattern emerged. In Nicholson's eyes, these were moments when the people around him violated the code he lived by. Some were idols who disappointed, others were co-stars who could not match his intensity, and a few were collaborators whose approach clashed fundamentally with his own. Each interaction shaped his view of Hollywood, influencing how he chose projects and the people he trusted on set. These experiences arose from disappointment, creative tension, or simply differences in approach. Nicholson was a force on screen, a storm of instinct, energy, and unpredictability. Anyone who approached acting with rigid precision felt like a collision of two worlds. For Nicholson, acting was not a mechanical craft, but a living, breathing art form. Messy, dangerous, and electric. Those who unintentionally dimmed that spark became part of a story he carried permanently. The question remains whether Nicholson was protecting his artistic truth or imposing impossible standards on those around him. Regardless, he lived by his own code, and Hollywood had to adapt. Ultimately, the legacy Nicholson built was one of uncompromising dedication to his craft. Acting, to him, was never meant to be neat or orderly. It was raw, spontaneous, and alive. When collaborators could not meet him on that level, the experiences left lasting impressions that shaped his decisions and outlook. In the end, the tales of these 6 names reveal the complexities of working in Hollywood, the intensity, the clashes, the disappointments, and the fleeting triumphs. For Jack Nicholson, they were more than stories. They were defining moments that illustrated his commitment to a form of acting that was untamed, fearless, and unforgettable.